Well, I am so excited to be here. We're already grinning ear to ear. And that's right. But I am so excited to be here with two of my friends. And this is the first time that I've done an episode with two people in the room. But I knew that I wanted to talk to these girls and get them in the same room, because I don't know how they haven't met each other. They both live here in Phoenix, but they hadn't. And I was like, y'all need to meet each other and we all need to talk. So please welcome Gentry and Perona. Thank you, girls.
Thanks for having us. This is exciting. So fun to be on your first one with three.
I know.
How fun. And now I can say I've met Amber.
That's true.
That's
I feel like
awesome.
we've never met because we're both traveling so much.
That's it. And that's why you're here.
That's exactly why we're here.
So I love traveling. I love traveling internationally. Anytime I can go somewhere, I love it. And you guys do too. And so it's great to talk with other people and see where you guys have been. And then it's so funny to talk to you guys because you travel so differently. And I was like, oh, isn't that true that no one travels the same? But I know that Jeff and we travel very differently. And it's been a topic of, contention in our marriage. Because
I can see how that could happen.
Yeah. Well, he'd rather be at the airport 3 hours ahead of time, make sure that we are through that security line and sit there and have maybe a full meal. And I'm like,
a full meal at the airport?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, nope.
It's terrible.
I know.
Red flag.
Red flag.
Red flag. Too late.
Yeah, I know, right? Whoops.
10 years too late.
Should have traveled with him before we got married. Oh, well. Yeah, no. And then for me, I'm like, we get there in enough time to maybe grab a coffee and drink most of it on the plane. So we're very different. But okay, so I would like for you guys, Amber, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And both Amber, I guess I should say this, Amber and Allie have both been on the podcast. And so we're going to just, you can hear more about their personal stories in their personal episodes. But tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. I grew up in Phoenix and went to NAU. That's where I met Courtney, if you haven't listened to my episode, which you should. And I worked at Northwest Christian for the last 11 years, and in January transferred to Arizona Foothills Magazine. So now I run that magazine, and we're all about storytelling and fashion and food and people. So it's been really fun.
I dream of eating at all the places in that magazine.
I know.
Yes.
Do you get to eat at all the places?
We can. We can. And go to all the grand openings and parties.
Allie's like, where is my invite?
No longer preaching. Do you need someone else on your team?
Do you need someone to travel with you?
Or just someone to go with you?
Right.
Yes. That's so
I'm
awesome. Allie.
Yeah. Well, we met. How did we meet?
I have no idea how I found you.
It's just so interesting.
I don't know. Your name came up somewhere, so I looked you up on your website. I was like, hey, she seems cool.
She stalked you.
I did. I totally did.
Oh
and I was
my.
like, she's got, something to say. And she's a great speaker. Let's get her on the podcast. And then and then I called you for an initial phone call. It was so sick, 20 minutes, and we spoke for an hour and a half.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Which is very on par for us.
Yeah, very much
on par
so.
for us. So speaking of speaking,
Yeah.
that's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
And so no wonder you too, can speak for hours on end. So I do a few things, but I'm first of all full-time at our church, Renovation Church here in Phoenix. I grew up basically in Arizona. I love it here. I love it. And I love our city, but I love to travel. I think traveling makes me love our city more, but we can get into that later. And I run an event, a nonprofit called Arise, an organization where it's a monthly event for women across the city to get together, worship, get a word, pray, do outreach together. And I'm also a radio show host here in Arizona for the Vibrant Life show every Tuesday. So that's also on podcast and whatnot. And travel and get to speak and hang out with people all over the place. So it's a party.
It's true. If you are on Instagram, they are both a great follow. And we'll put their tags in the show notes. But partially it's because where in the world are Amber and Allie this week?
Do people say that to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're living vicariously
Aha.
through.
That's
It's
exactly
true.
it.
I have not traveled with Allie yet, but I have traveled with Amber, and there are benefits, which we'll talk about later because of the way she travels. Okay, I want to know, how many days a year do you travel on average?
I think I'm between 70 and 80.
Okay.
What's the math of that in weeks?
I don't know, but you want to know what I did?
Well, like 10 or...
I went to my calendar,
Of course.
and the last 2 years I counted, and they both were about 60 to 67 to 80.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
how I
that's
did it.
about 10 to 12 weeks.
Yeah. I would say
Okay.
the same. I would say at least a week out of a month. But even separated, you know, when I'm thinking of my calendar right now,
Mhm.
and I'm like, wait, there's like a weekend here or, 3 days there within every month, because for me to stay sane, I've got to get out and come back. That's kind of my vibe.
I mean, I wanted to record this episode like a month and a half ago, but between when I asked you to and today, both of you have been in 2 or 3 states.
Yes. Yeah, that was something like that. And I almost had to message you and be like, I'm extending my stay. Can we move our time again?
It's
But
true.
I came home for you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for not
I'm
wearing
just
your...
going to leave again on Tuesday.
Thanks for not wearing your ski suit.
Oh, but it's such a cool suit.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so where were you?
I was in Montana.
Okay.
Whitefish, Montana for a week.
Nice.
And skiing every day with a family out there, dear friends. So, and then I extended my stay and canceled my flight while I was there, and just decided, well, not to show up because it costs more to, sorry, I shouldn't say this on podcast, but it costs more to cancel it. So I just didn't go.
And then she created her own hashtag.
And I created my own hashtag, and it's cancel flights, not people.
Okay, I like it.
So now it's going to be a clothing line. So this is how my mind works.
Of travel clothes?
Yeah, travel, apparel.
That's right.
I just gave up this yesterday.
So look for it in stores next fall.
We got you.
Okay, nice.
So, okay, so like 12 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite travel destinations?
Like repeat or?
It could be like that one place that you've gone and you wish you could go back and you just haven't made there, or it could be the place that you love going all the time.
I thought about like a repeat kind of trip.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like I would go to San Diego every weekend if I could.
Okay.
New York City, Hawaii, like those are kind of repeats for me. But I recently went to South Carolina and fell in love with Charleston.
It's
You
so
too?
beautiful.
It is.
You guys, it's so beautiful. And they have a height ordinance where you can't build higher than like a certain amount of stories. So when you're far away, you can see
You can
all
still
the church
see.
steeples.
It was like magical. We would for sure be going back there. So I love that.
That's cool. I've never been to Charleston. We spent this fall in North Carolina. We went to Sunset Beach, North Carolina. And sorry, California beaches have nothing on North Carolina beaches. I mean, I've been to Arizona girl right here, right? So California beaches are where I've been most of my life. But the beach was beautiful. And just to like, you have to walk, through the sand dunes to get to the beach. That was like an experience I'd never had. But then we had to drive back to my dad's house. He lives in Charlotte, and we drove, which was so cool because we had to drive through. On the way there, we took one way, which was all North Carolina. And then on the way back, we took another way, and it took us through South Carolina. And it's so green. And of course, my landscaper husband was like, there's a lot of lawns to mow here. We could move here.
I was just going to say, I'm shocked you didn't pick up and move.
No, but it's not, it's not off the table. I mean, it's so beautiful out there for sure. I haven't been to
it's
Charleston
gorgeous.
though. And I know my parents went and they loved it. Same as you guys. So
The food's good. Coffee's good.
The people were so nice.
So kind, yeah.
it's
Highly recommended.
highly recommended. Okay. Charleston. There you have it. What about you, Allie, other than Charleston?
I've only been there once, so it's not my repeat.
Okay.
But I would do that one again, and I hope to. Honestly, as an Arizona girl, I know this sounds very typical, but Sedona is my getaway. Like I know that that's like a little bit of a drive, but I'm telling you, it's one of my favorite places in this entire world, and it's just an hour and 45 minutes away from me. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I stay up there a lot, or I do day trips often. So when people go to Sedona, they're like, Allie, what do I do? What hikes should I do? And I know the hikes depending on their activity level and stuff. I just need to start a Sedona blog. Honestly, I need to start getting paid for this. Like, if people are gonna keep asking me,
A travel clothing line, a Sedona blog.
Yes,
I mean,
this is inspiring me. I'm quitting preaching.
I was gonna say there's a whole new life waiting for you.
that's my alter ego over there. I'm serious. I love it. But I love Montana. I go up there in the summer and now in the spring too. And San Diego is a classic. It's so good. Yeah, those are my repeats, and I don't usually repeat, so I feel like that says a lot.
I gotta get to Montana now.
Man, we want to go to Montana as well.
You have to go to Montana, you guys.
Good time.
Actually, don't go. But go. You know what I mean?
I interviewed someone from Montana, and I was like, oh, my husband would love to live there. She goes, yeah, everyone does.
Everyone. So many people are moving there. They're like, Allie, stop posting stuff. People want to come. And I'm like, don't tell me it's So, Amber, I kind of want to know, where is one of your favorite places you've been? It's not necessarily a repeat, but it's just such a draw.
Here's Allie taking over the interview.
I just wanted to know. I was like, okay, there's a repeat, but where's a place that you've been and you're like, yes, I love that, and I would love to go back sometime.
Oh, but I haven't been back. I recently did Santa Monica and Big Sur, and I love that. It was a different vibe than Southern Cal, which I usually go to.
Okay.
So that for sure. We've been vacationing in Florida a lot because they're letting us come over. And we went to 30A, which is
I've heard is beautiful.
Beautiful. And
very Instagrammable.
Yes, very Instagrammable. It's in between like Panama City and oh my gosh, what's the other little city over there?
I actually don't know where it's at. I just know it's in Florida.
That's like on the Panhandle. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was beautiful. Yeah. I loved it. So I would for sure go back there, but it's super Instagrammable and very busy.
Yes. A lot of Instagrammers go on vacation there.
Yeah.
Because it's...
See, that's the hard part about Instagram. It's like, it's awesome because you can find things, and then also it makes all of those places crowded.
No, it does. Like in Charleston on Rainbow Row.
Yeah, but,
right?
Yeah, but I posted one from Rainbow Row, and it was my highest liked post probably.
Right? And yeah, it's just things like that where you're like so excited to go, but then everybody else is. Or I went to Nashville too recently, and so many of those places are Instagrammable.
Y'all were in Nashville at the same time.
What?
Whoa.
I know, because I was watching your Instagrams.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, were you alone or were you with people?
I was with people on that one probably. Was it recently? September?
I was in November.
I was there again. Okay,
one
of my repeats is Nashville.
I know, I love Nashville too.
Okay, wait. So let's go to that question. Do you guys travel alone, or do you only travel with people? And let me just say that both of you guys are not married. Is that okay to say?
It's too late.
Just kidding.
Just kidding.
Like, oh my gosh, you can't tell people.
I'm like, oh, are we not
It's a
talking about
secret.
this, Allie?
No,
so both of you are not
people.
married.
Maybe
So
you might
do you
know my
travel
husband.
alone, or do you travel with people?
I usually I travel with people unless I'm going to meet them and I went a day early.
Okay.
Or I'm going to meet up with them somewhere, or I'm going to visit somebody.
Okay.
That's when I'll travel alone. But never have I ever gone on a trip and
Never have I ever
gone by myself. No.
Oh, you okay?
I don't even. My friends would be so irritated. I would be calling them every minute, trying to talk to them about the trip. Like,
You might as well just go with people.
yeah.
There you go.
I'm a little bit different than that. I love traveling with people or going somewhere and meeting people there, but I travel alone all the time. And I mean, like Sedona trips or San Diego or get out of here type of trip, even Montana in the summer, that's for me to be alone. I mean, a couple of summers ago, I was up there for 2.5 weeks alone. And I actually did a road trip up through like Arizona, Utah, Idaho, or Wyoming, all the things, up through to Montana. And I went with someone on the way up there. Okay. But on the way home, I did not. I was alone when I came back. And it was absolutely incredible.
And that sounds absolutely torturous.
Okay, Amber, extrovert or introvert?
I've been called a shy extrovert.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
And I'm an outgoing introvert. That's what I call myself.
There you go.
Talked about it
And I'm an
funny.
outgoing extrovert, everything. So give me all the people.
Yeah.
When I lived in France, I didn't have anyone to travel with necessarily. And so I had the option of either traveling alone or not traveling at all. So I chose to travel alone a lot, but that was literally like a practice that I had to work on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a practice. It's not naturally comfortable to be alone and traveling, especially female. But I remember I've gone on trips where I've been alone for like a week and then I meet up with people over in Europe or whatever, and then I'm with them. And then I also did it backwards where I was with people and then I like stayed in Prague, I think, for a few days by myself. And I even did one where I stayed in Denmark after I did Scandinavia by myself. And I'm like, I'm not doing it that way again.
Okay.
You can't, I don't like being with people and then being alone. It's better to explore alone and then have people because it's a practice to go out by yourself. And you can do that, but when you've been with people and now you have to re-practice going out, like going to dinner and stuff by yourself, I don't recommend it. I can do it. I have done it, obviously, but I don't recommend it if you're going to try and travel alone or meet people. Do it on the front side is my little piece of advice for that, because it's a practice to be alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels awkward. And when people are like, oh, just one? I'm like, that's rude. and
how many movie tickets?
Yeah.
Just one.
Just
Thanks,
one.
though.
You got to add the just.
Or like,
Just
are you waiting for someone? No.
No.
And that's what I tell people. I had that happen to me in Montana last year, and they looked at me so weird when I walked in by myself. And then I'm like, I'm already doing this alone, okay? Just one. And then I came in, and they're just like, is it just you? I'm like, there's not another menu. There's just literally, if there were two, there'd be a menu. I'm sitting there reading my book. I'm like, please don't make me feel worse about this.
Or you're like, I'll take the chocolate mousse and the cheesecake. Oh, are you meeting someone? Nope, just for me.
This is all about me right now.
Right? Just bring me both the desserts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, and see, for me, I actually got to stay here as like a staycation by myself. I think like after one of my kids was born, and it was like a little while afterwards, and I decided I'm going to do an overnight, and I got like a Groupon or something like that. And it was horrible. Like, because I didn't have the time to settle into that, I only had the one night. It was like, I called my friends, just like you're like, I'd be calling them all the time. I literally did that. I like called family. I called friends. I didn't sleep well. For me, there was like guilt that I was, here by myself, not, taking care of my kids. Now that my kids are older, I think some of that guilt has like passed a little bit.
You're like, I do that now, tomorrow.
Right. Well, actually, I'm curious to try it again to see how I feel now. But I feel like I feel what you're talking about, that process. It takes a little bit of time to be okay with being by yourself, but there's things to be learned in that time on your own. But it is hard to travel alone sometimes as a woman, depending on where you're going. I have called my dad once on the subway because there was a guy that was like annoying me and following me. And by the way, did I mention this was when I was in France and my dad was here in America?
I was going to say, what was your dad going to do?
Oh, yeah. Exactly. He was so
Great
mad.
question, Amber.
You call your dad?
Nothing. But it was like, at least like it was at midnight. Why was I on the subway at midnight? There's another question to be asked. But all my friends there were asleep and no one was answering their phone. So I called my dad because he was here and I knew he'd be awake. And so he made sure I was fine. And then the next morning he calls back and he goes, "What were you thinking?"
I appreciate that he stayed calm.
He stayed calm and even let me sleep. And then was like, this is a bad idea and we need to not repeat this again. Like, I get that. Okay. So you're leaving for the airport on one of your 12 weeks worth of trips. Oh gosh. Okay. See, don't worry. This is what people see on YouTube. I just totally threw my mic. Okay. What is your process to getting to the gate?
I don't like to get there early enough to have a meal. I like to go through TSA pre-check.
Okay.
Maybe get an iced tea, go to the bathroom, fill up my water bottle, and get on the plane.
Okay.
I am shocked.
I know, I am too. I thought she would have been there much earlier.
So organized. I feel like you'd be like, I need to be there and sit there.
No, it's probably because I'm doing 100 things before. So in my head, I'm like, all right, this is what I got. We'll get in, get out. No need to sit there and like
waste time sitting at the airport.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I try to tell people this all the time.
Okay, now Allie, how do you get to the gate? Because it's not the same.
I want to ask you. I'm sorry. I have so many questions. When do you pack?
Oh. 2 weeks out, I'm checking the weather every single day. 1 week out, I start like in half of my closet, like throwing in things I'm thinking about packing. And then it's probably like 2 days, it's like all in. So then if I forgot something or I made a mistake, I have time to like redo it all.
I am impressed.
I knew that.
So
I knew it. I was like, we're similar on the arrival time, but I wonder about the packing.
So Allie, when do you start packing?
If my flight leaves at 6 a.m., probably by 8 p.m. the night before.
And like ever the panic that just crossed your face.
I actually did it earlier the other day when it was like almost 24 hours in advance. I started packing, and it was actually very calm and pleasant. So
imagine that.
And I got to Montana and I wore everything that I brought.
So there is a lot of room in my way of overthinking everything, and sometimes that's not the best. I will say that, yeah.
And then there's room for overpacking in my instance. Overthinking or overpacking.
Okay, so I went over spring break. I went to San Diego for a few days, and then we went to Disneyland for a few days, and then I flew to Virginia. So it was just a lot of variety of things. And so I had like 2 suitcases. This was like 1 or 2 weeks out. I like my 2 suitcases. My packing. Do you use packing cubes? Mm-hmm. Okay. Packing cubes.
Occasionally.
I like how you guys are like,
I think the better question is, do you have them? And the answer is yes.
Well, sometimes
but you don't use them.
Sometimes I don't think they actually save any room.
Yeah, exactly why.
But anyway, so I'll try to pre-think and then pre-pull. It's like I'm doing a photo shoot or something.
Exactly what it sounds like.
But this is the difference between girls traveling and guys traveling.
Right.
Because like my husband throws a few things in a backpack and he's good.
I know.
But I'm like thinking through, okay, what pants are going to go with what shirts? And like, I'm going to wear these pants again, but the shirt, probably I'm going to spill food on it. So we're not going to count that for 2 days. That's just going to be 1. And then we need like 3 different kinds of shoes, right? You got to have the flip-flops.
3.
Well,
the shoes.
I'm going to move towards 6 or 7.
The shoes are what is the problem for me.
The shoes are the problem.
They just take a lot of space. So I've gone down to 3, like a pair of active shoes, a pair of flip-flops, and then usually some kind of boots. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
Big boot gal.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
I got yelled at your church
at?
This morning. The guy told me I was preparing for rain because I was wearing boots in Arizona.
Like those today?
Yeah.
It was the
little warm.
Don't give him Amber's like, it is hot.
It is warm.
It is 82 degrees out.
Okay. Yeah. I had another question. Gosh, now what was it? Okay, well, now I can't remember it.
Well, I will say back to my airport arrival.
Yes.
So I definitely TSA pre-check. It's worth it if you travel just semi-regularly. Pay for it. Get it. And global entry card. I got mine because I travel internationally a lot. And so do that, especially at the Phoenix. You have to know how your airport works. And we live in Phoenix, and it is so easy to get through that so fast. Check your bag, get up there. By the time I get dropped off and I'm at my gate,
it's like minutes.
6 minutes. Like, I seriously, I'll literally like check it, go up there, and I'm like, it sounds like I'm not giving myself enough time when I say 6 minutes. I might be check bag upstairs through TSA pre-check and on the other side of it in 5 to 6 minutes from drop off. Maybe 10. Okay. I'll say 10 just to be nice, but I know for a fact that it's been less than 10. So I just want enough time for that. Bathroom, grab waters, or I don't usually grab coffee because that takes a long time.
True.
And then I just get on the plane, and I want to arrive at my gate while they're boarding.
Yeah, so you have a point of pride when you travel. What is that?
You
knew I was going to bring this up.
Not missing my flight, checking my bag late.
Okay, I was going to ask, you check your bag?
I do.
All the time?
Almost all the time.
Okay.
Because I don't like putting it in the overhead bin because it's such a moment. I get such bad social anxiety that everybody's watching me.
Okay, that's where I like to ask the guy to do it. I feel like I'm helping him too or whatever.
Yeah.
But I get scared that my bag is not going to make it, and I want it with me. I want it with me.
Interesting.
See, and if I have a layover, it's getting checked. If I don't have a layover, then I might keep it on the bag.
Gosh, that's hilarious. If I have a layover, I'm bringing it with me because I do not want it to get stuck. And if I don't, I would be more inclined to check it.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
What are the odds? We're complete opposites.
What are the odds? Oh, I knew this. This is why I brought you guys on the podcast together.
I'm just thinking like, okay, so I had a layover recently to Virginia, and it was super short. We also arrived late, so now I had like no time. And in my head, I'm like, well, what if like I barely have time to get to my gate? Is my suitcase? What if my suitcase couldn't make it?
Have you ever not gotten your suitcase? No. Probably not because you have it with you.
No. Have you?
Right?
One time, yes. I didn't have it. One time I did not have it because there was flight delays and storms, and it got stuck on a plane, and then I had overnight, and then I had to fly into a different place because I was speaking the next day, and then they didn't switch my bag, and then so I didn't have my bag for 3 days. So the nice thing was I went to Target, and American Airlines paid for all of it. So
there you go.
That is
nice.
Nice. Maybe I will start checking my bag.
Yeah,
Right. I had that happen in New York. With actually it was someone I was traveling with. Their bag got like destroyed, and like clothing destroyed, and so she got to go to Times Square and like buy some clothes. And
that's incredible.
So nice.
Then, yeah.
Luckily, there's some coverage for some of that.
Yeah.
But if you do it just because, and then the only time I've missed my flight was recently because I pride myself because you're supposed to be there 45 minutes. Your bag's supposed to be, if you're going to check your bag.
I thought it was 30.
It used to be 30. COVID changed it to 45.
Thank you guys. Like Jeff's like, we have to be there. It's supposed to be 2 hours early. I'm like, I've never been 2 hours early to the airport ever before I was married.
Your bag has to be checked now 45 minutes in advance. And if you're doing it through a computer, it will not let you. If you go up to the people, you're at the hands and the mercy of whoever is checking you in. And I have continually gotten people that are so kind. And I get this very bright lime green bag that says late check-in. And I was like, I just need to start saving these. And then last time I tried it, the reason I missed my flight is because I was at about a 40-minute check-in time and they wouldn't let it. And you can't get on the flight without your bag. And so I missed my flight because I was 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
So that was rude.
Oh my gosh, this sounds like a nightmare.
So now I have a little bit of PTSD.
Well, what really irritates me is when they're like, sorry, ma'am, we have no more room in the overhead compartment. Like your bag is too big. And I'm like, my bag is too big. It's been on like 70, 67.
See, that's why you check it. You never have to worry about them.
And then you get on the plane and there's like all this overhead space. And it's so irritating.
Yeah. I probably always use a carry-on, but it's because I'm too cheap to pay for
That's another thing I don't like to pay either.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm bougie. I'm like, I will pay for convenience.
Okay, but when I have gone like Southwest and they take, the one bag and we do check a bag, it is so nice not to have to carry something through the airport.
To tote it around the airport, I will say that is really nice.
Yeah. Especially if you have a long layover. It's like, oh.
I'll also say this really fast, and I'm not promoting any type of credit card usage, but I will say if you have credit cards for that airline like I do, I get my first bag checked for free.
Okay, so do you have a preferred airline?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I have a preferred and the one that I actually fly.
Okay, preferred.
Southwest, I'll fly because it's easy and I have a lot of points for Southwest. American is usually easier because they're cheaper last minute. And Delta is my favorite.
Okay.
Delta, if I can fly Delta, I'm going Delta every time. I've not
How
had one
often
bad
do you
experience.
fly?
And both my uncle and my aunt both worked for Delta. And so I flew standby around the world on Delta, and that is prime time. And I ended up in first class a lot. So maybe I have a...
There you go. Yeah.
There's a thing there. Probably.
How often do you fly last minute? All the time.
All the time.
Like, what's last minute? Like, tomorrow I want to go
Like, I might be going to Montana on Tuesday. I'm not going to make that decision probably
But you don't have your
Sunday.
flight.
No.
Amber's like, I'm sorry, that doesn't even compute. Amber, do you ever fly last minute?
No. Yeah. I'm, like, already booked all my flights out to, like, August.
I like even know that I'm going somewhere in July and I still will not book it because what if something changes?
That's just so much
This is
about
hilarious.
you. Okay,
Wow.
if you are listening to this, you need to go and watch the YouTube just so that you can see their faces when the other person
Pure
responds.
shock.
What? You do that?
Okay, so what do? You're preparing to go somewhere. We know Allie has no idea where she's going, but
Accurate every day of my life.
let's say you do know and you're going on vacation somewhere. How do you prepare to go on vacation?
Do you?
Do you?
Amber's got jokes. I do prepare. Here's the deal. If I know where, like, say I might go somewhere next week. If I go, I already know where I'm staying. You know, I already have a place. So it's easier for me to be like, okay, I'm going to go last minute. For 2021 New Year's, about 2 weeks out, we decided to go to Miami for New Year's Eve. It was about a 2 week out thing. It was, honestly, I found out I probably should have prepped more than that because it would have been way cheaper. So I highly recommend preparation because I think it'll save you money and time on the ground for the most part. Not always, but for the most part. So I do like to know, I deep dive research on the area I'm staying in. I want it to be the best area with the most, like the quickest access. So I will study that when I'm going somewhere new. If I'm going somewhere where I've been before, I already know it. And so I can do last minute. So I don't prep as much. But where I'm staying is key for me in the city is one of the most important things for me is like, I'm going to know where I'm going to look at all the travel vlogs. I'm going to look at everything around there to where it's like prime time.
What are you looking for?
I think activities, walking distance, because I like to walk when I'm in other cities because you get to know it better. I'm looking for the area, how nice it is, especially if I'm traveling alone, like what's that going on? And then if I'm going somewhere from there, like what's the accessibility? So, and affordability too, but safety comes at
that makes
pretty
sense.
equal.
Amber?
I'm prepping like I'm going to move to that city.
I actually called Amber because I know that she does this. And when we went to Sunset Beach, I was like, hey, Amber, do you have an Excel spreadsheet for Sunset Beach yet?
Do you do Excel spreadsheets?
Oh.
I love an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, that's amazing.
I love a Facebook group of the city because then I will ask all the moms
It is
all
smart.
the things. And Yelp and Instagram. But it's like I'll start with like I'll start with an Excel spreadsheet of all the things like I want to do, categories by like food, things to do, places to stay, and then I'll narrow it down. Then I'll plug it in my dates, and it's like it's pretty loose, I would say, but it's like okay, we could move this date to this kind of thing. My least favorite thing ever is when we're standing around and what should we do today? Well, I don't know. Where do you want to eat? And now we waste like an hour. And since I don't get to the airport
She's correct.
until it's time to get on the flight, time is just so important. And so I just don't like it when you're like, then you end up somewhere where it's not very good. Nobody did the research. So that's what I like to just
avoid.
Have. Here's my sleep protected spreadsheet.
The one time sleep protected. Yeah.
Sleep protected. That's
so the one time I traveled with Amber, I was like, hey, what are your guys' plans? Just nonchalantly, like just to see if she had any. And she's like, oh, well, here's the Excel spreadsheet. And I was like, come again? And it had like a schedule because we were going for a conference. So our days were a little more like scheduled and structured. But she's like, let's see, Friday, we're going to lunch here. We're going to dinner here. After the conference, we're going to go get pie here. And then she's like, but if any of these places are closed, here's the list of alternates. And I was like, Amber, I am so impressed.
That's amazing.
I know. So here's your travel blog, right? So that you need to have like Amber's like corner and it's all the places to go eat in that area. So you go and say, these are the things that you need to know. And Amber's like, here's the places that you should eat.
Yes. Well, I'm going to look at that area and see what food's in the area.
Yeah.
Like the area matters so much. And so I'll look up places to eat. Food is so critical when you're traveling. Like to me, that's where I put a lot of my money while I'm traveling is good food because you can't get it anywhere else. Like that's where I like to enjoy. So I do like to look up restaurants, and I'll have a list and my notes in my phone. Like you could go through it. I have different cities.
So you do it. We just do it at different times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what I do is when I get to the city, whether that's an Uber from the airport, people at the hotel, or your Airbnb people, I ask locals. So I'm like, where do you go? Where do you go? Okay. And as they're talking, I'm like, typing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start asking other people. And when it starts to like line up on a lot of these things, I'm like, what about these? This is what I heard from my Uber driver. And they're like, oh, don't go to that. This is this, but you would love that. And I'm like, perfect. That's where we're going today.
Okay. Yes.
Cool. There you go. Yeah. Well, and I think it's important too, for me, I don't want to go to I don't like fast food when I'm traveling. I want to go to the thing that I can't get anywhere else. I want that dessert that's made with the fruit that was grown locally. I want, that meal that's made specifically with the kind of beef that comes from that area, whatever it might be. And so I agree that food is so important, but if you don't have if you haven't made any decision, then you're like, well, let's just go to Subway or Panera. And you're like, you can get that in Phoenix.
And that would be the last time I travel with you.
I was about to say that, Amber. I was like, and this is why it's hard to travel with my family. I'm just kidding. Because sometimes it's just easier. There's so many of us, and they're like, oh, let's just go to this restaurant. And I'm like, no.
Then a fooditude comes out. We call it fooditude.
Fooditude.
Fooditude. Wow.
That is.
Is that what Amber gets when someone tries to make her go to Panera Bread?
My family now knows, I'll get them to I'll just take care of all the plans now. And they go with it.
Oh, there you
go. That's the way to do it.
It's so nice.
But I mean, when you've got someone that's as organized and prepared as you,
right?
Why not?
And I put so much effort into it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I need to do, is be a little bit more organized, so then I could have a little bit more say-so of what's happening.
Okay, so I want to know I think you've already shared some travel tips for us. What's your biggest travel tip for listeners?
I feel like TSA and global entry, if you go in, is worth all the money. I mean, it's not that expensive, I don't feel to even get it, but I don't worry I just don't worry, because you don't take your shoes off, and you just go through, and then you get there. It's so nice.
Okay. Anytime you can eliminate stress while you're traveling, even as a seasoned traveler, I still get anxiety sometimes, that travel anxiety a little bit the day of, where you're like, oh, I'm going to get there on time. Is everything going to go as planned? And so anytime there's a way, like the TSA, I think that's pretty important to eliminate.
Okay. I think everybody should do that.
Taking out your laptop and off your shoes and your jackets. That is.
It's the shoes, because that's gross. You have to walk on the floor. Everyone's shoes. It's just nasty.
Do their socks match? We don't know.
Why aren't you wearing socks?
The different kind of walk of shame, through that security, and your socks don't match, and you're like, I can't believe I did this.
Know.
I knew I had to take these off. Absolutely, that's a great.
I feel
tip.
like that's
my thing is, what I feel like traveling has taught me the most is that once you get there, everything's pretty much outside of your control. And so
that's a good one.
Just remembering that you're going to get to your destination, things happen, delays happen, you might miss a flight of a connection, and it's such a bummer. But I think traveling has taught me more than any other thing that I've done in my life to remember that I'm actually not in control of a lot of big things, and that if I can just relax and rest and go with what's happening, and realize that I'm going to have to just problem solve, and I'm going to get there, and it's going to be fine. It has made traveling for me way more fun, because I'm like, well, this is just what's happening. And I think that a lot of times I've traveled with people or talked to people who don't really have that mindset when it comes to traveling, even when it's work travel or whatever. So then you're getting in this, and then travel becomes not fun.
Yeah.
Because it's stressful. And it's yeah, it is a little stressful, but if you realize that things could go wrong before you ever get there, and just be okay, I'm just going to roll with it, because I can't control it. Mm-hmm. The only thing you can do is control how you're going to respond to it. Yeah. And that taught me, because I studied school in London. I went to school in London for a while, and that's when I learned it. I was 22 at the time, 21, 22, and I learned that because so many things went wrong in our travel issues and everything. And I was like, okay, this is going to happen. And the quicker that I just realize it, that it's going to happen sometime, the easier it is to adjust. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
to speak on that,
Yes.
as you can tell, I'm a little bit of a control freak.
Okay.
But when I'm not nervous at the airport one bit. And I wonder if it's because it's out of my control, and so therefore I can relax a little bit more.
Okay. Once you get to the other side.
No, once I get...
No, I mean, like, but once you get to your destination, are you also like that?
Relax.
Yeah.
You have to ask my friends that travel with me.
I bet you're more relaxed because you have a plan.
I do have a plan, and so I do feel like, okay, I can go to sleep at night. We never know what we're going to do tomorrow or whatever.
And you have your backups.
Yeah.
If they're, you know.
And see me, I'm like, if it's over planned, I'm like, but what if something happens, and what if we meet people, and what if we want to go do this? Because I've ended up in some sweet places because I talked to random people for a long time, and I ended up in penthouse suites in Thailand on an island, and actually
we didn't get that
in
Venice,
Thailand. In Venice, in a plaza, we ended up in the penthouse because we kept talking with these people, and it was on a busy weekend, and no hotels were open, and there were 3 of us, and over there
she didn't have a room.
We didn't have a room.
Of course you didn't.
We did not have a room. We just showed up in Venice. We're like, we'll get one when we get there. We didn't know it was going to be the biggest marathon of the year happening in Venice, and everything was bought up, and except for like one room at this hotel that had 1 bed. But over there, you had to pay per person. And so at the time, and then we were there, and anyway, so it was a whole ordeal. But then by the end of it, because we hung out with the people at the hotel while we were trying to find other places, and they were actually trying to sneak us into the room, but you literally cannot do that. And by the end of it, they came back. They're like, "Oh, the people who had the penthouse, they are not going to be here for their stay, but they can't get it refunded. We'll charge you for this one room, for 1 bed." And then the 3 of us had this penthouse overlooking a plaza in Venice.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Gosh, that is
so sometimes when you don't have a plan, it ends up better. Way better. You end up in a penthouse. You end up in another penthouse in Thailand. Like, I just happened to talk to
Amber's
random
like,
locals.
no.
But I'll say also, when you don't have a plan, we've ended up either paying a ton of money because it's the only thing left, or we ended up in such a bad area, and it was like, if we just would have planned. So I'm not saying this is not my travel tip, but I will say, if you're going to travel for a long time, maybe this is one is, if you say you're going to travel for like a week or 10 days somewhere, especially overseas, I highly recommend it if you're going to go to a different country or multiple countries. Plan out, like, say we're going to go on a 7-day trip. Plan out 5 of those days, and then while you're there and you talk to people, book the last 2 in the first 2 days you're there, or 3 days, and then because it leaves room for something crazy to happen. Like, that's why Thailand, we ended up where we did on that island, is because we didn't book the last 3 days of our 10-day trip.
Okay.
And then we ended up there. And so I like to do that if it's longer, and I've ended up in a lot of awesome places because of it.
I don't know that
that freaks you out.
I would rather have it planned and then be flexible to not go with that plan.
Yeah, there you go.
But already have one in case we don't get the penthouse.
And see, I would want to have a place to stay. But as far as what we're doing, I agree with that, because sometimes it's like, well, we went and saw this thing and we loved it so much, but now we can't we can't go and see that again because we've got all these other things
and it's not
that we need to see
and things like that.
Yeah, we did a trek across Spain. So we started in Leon, Spain, and it's like basically if you do the full Camino de Santiago, it's all the way across. You start in France, hike over the Pyrenees, and then all the way across Spain. We started like 2/3 of the way through, basically, because we only had 2 weeks. And we realized that we would have loved to have gone a little bit slower, or to like so the idea is that you walk, several miles in the morning, and then you get a hostel, you stay there, you take a siesta because it's, Spain. And then everyone goes out and has a meal and you meet people from all over. It's great. But then everyone goes to bed and then you wake up the next morning and walk again. But we're like, wouldn't it have been nice, some of these towns that we loved so much, to like stay here and like be a tourist for a day and then continue on our way. But we couldn't because we had flights out of Santiago at the end of 2 weeks.
Like you had to get there.
We had to get there.
Right.
And like, okay, we could have taken a taxi, I guess, for the last 2, but it would have been, pretty expensive. So we had to get there.
Yeah.
And a bunch of us on the last leg, we like chose the last day to hike like 20 miles, I think, because if we pushed it that last day, it gave us a whole day in the last city to like be a tourist.
Right.
Or we could have spread it out, but then we wouldn't have had that time.
And those are things that you learn as you travel.
Yeah.
Like even if we say, do this, do that, try that, like you might try it one way and think, okay, I could try that next time, and be like, okay, that did not work. I did not plan those last 2 days, and we ended up
thanks to Allie and the
spending
podcast.
hours. You can email. You can definitely. You can email me at Courtney Lohman.
Her email address is in the show notes, but
like it's interesting because like those are things you now know,
Yeah.
and that you wouldn't do again, and that's what's travel is beautiful. And then no experience is the same. You could go back to the same place and do even some of the same things, but it's the experience of it is never the same. And I love that about traveling. And the people, you're gonna meet new people each time. So I love, that's one of the reasons I love it. You get to see God's creation, the uniqueness of every culture, of every city, of every people, food, everything, and just see God's hand on all of it.
And maybe you guys agree. I think that it's really important to make sure that you are in the culture of the place where you're going, especially internationally. Like it's very easy to like go to an all-inclusive resort and stay in the resort and only, I'll be honest, it's so nice to be in an all-inclusive resort, right? And like eating all the food and, we went to Jamaica, eating all the pina coladas, but like that's great.
Eat pina coladas?
Drinking.
I was like, oh wow, those are intense pina coladas.
They were pretty, lots of ice, just straight from the coconut.
Yeah.
No, but it's really easy to just do that. But I think personally for me, I mean, I've done lots of travel in other countries, and what I've loved is either staying with people that lived there, or that the organizations that we were with, maybe if it's a place that wasn't super safe for us to stay in homes, we could stay somewhere, and then they would make sure that we were invited to somebody's home for dinner so we could experience that culture. There's nothing like that, I think, in my opinion. And so my encouragement is always make sure that you're experiencing the culture of where you're going, even if that's is skiing in Montana, or
you gotta find this. You do. There's a culture anywhere you go.
Exactly.
And you gotta find them.
You gotta find them.
If you want a good experience. And also, I will say this is my last travel tip: Google.com/flights.
Oh,
it's the easiest way to find flights.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like all there. I mean, they don't have Southwest on there, but it's
You can also save your searches. They can alert you.
Yeah, I get emails when it changes and stuff.
Okay, so like if you're looking to go somewhere, it'll tell you when it drops in price. Oh, that is nice.
Also, Hopper. Do you ever use Hopper?
Yes, I like
Hopper.
that one too. Get that app.
She's a last minute travel person. Of course, she does Hopper. I thought that's what that app was for.
That's
is
exactly
last minute
what that
travel.
app is for.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I want to know if you guys have any absolute travel fails. We're gonna read some from listeners, but do you guys have like a moment where you're like, "Yeah, this didn't work"? Allie's got to have one with her.
That was rude.
She has ones that have worked.
Even the listeners know
my fails ones still work out. I don't know. Just kidding. My biggest fail, and probably a travel tip as well, is that when I was in London, I got on. I was leaving for Pisa the next morning. We were going on to Italy and Greece for 2 weeks for our fall break, and $25, you guys, from London to Pisa.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? $25 for that flight. It's incredible.
The good old days.
So
I know, right?
The good old days.
And low fare airplanes.
Ryanair.
In Europe. That's one of them.
Europe, yep. And so we get there, and we're leaving the next morning super early. We get outside. We go to the bus stop. The buses aren't running yet in London because it's 4 a.m. And so we're standing there having to wait, but our flight's leaving. The tube is shut down. We don't have a cab. Cabs aren't even running. And so we're like, where? Because you have to call them. It's different now with Uber, I know. But, like, that's not the case. And then we get there. We finally get to the airport, like, barely get to the airport. And we get there. We're checking in at Ryanair. And they said, you are at the wrong airport. We went to Heathrow, and we were supposed to be at Gatwick, which is about a 45-minute drive. So we had to all get our bags, get a taxi, but they didn't have the cheap taxis. They only had the black cabs. So those are the expensive ones. So it cost us almost $200. Almost $200
for this $25 flight.
For a $25 flight. I've never thought of that before.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Got there. So we're in this fancy black cab. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, almost $200 to get to Gatwick. Ran through. They checked our bags after we begged them to, and they did not like Americans begging them to do stuff. Like, I'm just going to tell you. And we're like 3 loud ones, and 2 of my friends are like tall blondes, and like one's like Viking status, and the other one is like has this huge blonde hair. And anyways, and so we're going through, and we tell the one with the blonde hair, we're like, Kylan, you gotta check your hairspray. Do not put it in your carry-on, because I am not waiting for you. Type of deal. We go through security. She gets dinged. The 2 of us already go through, me and Christine. The other one gets dinged, and she gets dinged, and they pull a huge can of hairspray out, and we're like, they're about to close the doors on us, and our gate's on the whole other end.
Of course it is.
And so they're about to close the doors, and then they pull out another can of hairspray, 2 cans of hairspray in her carry-on. After we said, don't you do that. So then we're like, I'm standing there, and they're having to pull her bag, and I'm like, am I a good friend, or am I going to make my flight? Like, do you wait, or do you go?
How much does this friend matter to me?
Yeah, how much and I was like, I gotta go. And I was like, I took off. Like, I just start running, and I was like, hope I see you there. Otherwise, you gotta figure out your other flight. Like, this one's on you, girl. Like, we try to help you. And so we just start running, and I run, and I get to the thing, and then I see my other friend coming behind me, so they waited, and we're like, no, she's coming, we promise. And then she's like yelling at us, like, get on the, because we had to still go down the tarmac onto the plane. And so she's like, no, I'm closing the door if you don't come. So we literally were like, we have to leave. And all of a sudden, like right before she's like closing the door, I look back and I just see this blonde hair just bouncing, running through all the crowd. We're like, there she is. And she was so angry. And she's just like, get down the steps. And so she got Kylan. We walk down the steps. We go on the tarmac, get up on the plane. They're literally pulling the thing up. Like before we even sit down, they're just like, sit down right now. We had like 10 friends that were also going to Pisa waiting for us. All of a sudden we walk on the flight and they're like, yeah!
I was like, the whole flight.
A bunch of
cheered
Americans at like 6:30 a.m. just like, yeah! They're like, oh, we hate you. And then anyway, so that was my major fail, is not looking at my bus route, not looking at my tube, not looking at the tube station, and not looking at which airport I was going to.
Yeah.
What a fail. Like, that's a major fail. And when you travel a lot, that is the most epic fail you could ever do, is go to the wrong airport. I know we still made it by God's grace. We got to Pisa on that $25 flight plus $200. However, my biggest fail was not double checking my airport.
Oh my gosh. And you're not the only person that I've heard go to the wrong airport. Like, as far as for those cities that Amber's like, how does that even happen?
I know, but most people think, how does that happen? And I'm like, I don't know. I just thought I knew where I was going.
Wow.
Yeah.
So double check, people.
Double check.
Your friend's hair must have, I hope she used that hairspray and it was just.
It is so good. She still has big, beautiful blonde hair. And every time I see it pop up on my Instagram, I'm like, that flight to Pisa.
Oh my gosh, that sounds horrible.
Have you ever had a fail, Amber, ever?
I once got to the airport when we could do a lot of buddy passes, and I get to the gate and I don't have my buddy pass. So I call my dad and I'm like, please go all the way back, get the buddy pass, and book it back down here.
Oh, no.
And he did, and I made it, but that was a bummer.
Have you done that with your passport?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
I did that on my way to Thailand, but my mom brought it to me just in time.
See, parents are awesome for that.
Yeah,
they are.
thankfully.
Yeah. They save the day.
And living close to airports. That's what I highly recommend. Live
That
close
is
enough
nice
to your
too.
airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we went to Thailand too.
Awesome.
And on the way home, like, you're tired and you just traveled so much now, you're exhausted. And we did not research. We had a layover in Shanghai. And so we're like, oh, we have a long layover. We'll just go out and get really great, authentic food. We didn't know that, like, they won't take our credit card. They're super strict about, like, ATM machines and that kind of stuff. So we get on the tram from the airport. We get into the city and we're starving. We're tired, kind of grouchy, you know. And we go into this bakery and we, like, fill up our tray with all this food, and we're so hungry. And we get up there and we're like, here, like, here's our credit card. And she's like, the lady's like, no, that doesn't work. And we're like, where does this Visa not work?
Right. That's the whole point of having
Shanghai,
Visa.
apparently.
Yeah. So we're like, well, like, is there anything you can do? We're so hungry. And the lady just slowly leans over, grabs the tray from us, and like takes it back. And we almost started bawling. We're so hungry. So then we're like hungry, and we're like going around.
And probably sleep deprived at this
yes,
point in time. Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And it was so hot and humid.
So she just took the food.
She took the
away.
food. We
Oh
got
my
no
goodness.
food, and
Oh, no.
we had no money. And now we're walking around Shanghai looking at all the street food that looks amazing, but we have no money. So we did not research. I did not research that layover we had.
Interesting. And payment though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Because
good
we
tip
just
for me,
thought,
too.
we'll just go to the ATM or the credit card will work. There it did not.
I've done that
Wow.
in Germany. I had an 8-hour layover, and I was like, I'm not going to sit in the airport for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So I did that.
Anything over 2 hours, you got to get outside there.
You do.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So then sadly we go back to the airport and have to eat the airport food. But so it was a bummer.
Oh
I'm
my
going to do
gosh.
that now. I never even thought to make sure that the credit cards.
Yeah. Or to have
Or just do a quick
a
exchange.
little bit of
I don't know why we
local
didn't do a quick
exchange.
exchange.
Yeah.
Either it was closed or something about the ATM. It was late. It was like weird hours, but
yeah. That is
So,
hard
yeah.
if the exchange places are closed in the airport.
Right.
But yeah, to have just a little bit of local money when you
Yeah.
know you're going to be going out somewhere, if
Yeah.
for nothing other than just to avoid the international
just
charges
thought
on your credit card.
I just thought of a travel fail. I'll just say it really quick.
Okay.
One time when I was the night that I was leaving Thailand, the last night I was in Bangkok, and speaking of street food, this reminded me of it.
Oh, no.
There's scorpions on a stick,
I
and
did-
it's
I
like
did
a
not
thing.
eat those.
It's a thing over there.
I've
Just
seen
scorpions
that.
on a stick, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to be culture, and I'm trying to be like the people.
No.
And I ate that scorpion on a stick, and I ate the tail as well, which you're not supposed to do. And that was the night that our flight left at 5 a.m. And I was so sick on my flight. Yeah, I had a layover in Tokyo. Almost didn't make my layover because I was actually on a buddy pass as well. But that flight back from Tokyo to LA, I was so sick.
Oh my
so if you're
gosh.
gonna try something, do it at the beginning of your trip.
And don't eat the tail.
And don't eat
Don't
the
eat the
tail.
tail.
Travel fail. Don't eat the scorpion's tail.
So I wasn't traveling, but my best friend came to Marseille, France to visit me. And the night before she left, I was like, let's go get seafood. We're right here on the Mediterranean. We have to get seafood. And so we both order this like seafood platter. And it had like oysters on the half shell. It had clams on the half shell. And it had shrimp. And so she didn't know what she was ordering because it was like French and I ordered it. And so she's like, oh, I'll take one of those. She's like, I'm not eating any of that. And I'm like, you're not going to eat the oysters on the half shell, which I love, by the way. And she's like, and those shrimp have heads. And I was like, do you want me to peel them for you? She goes, I would prefer that. Yes. And so I peeled her shrimp and she and I gave her my shrimp since she wasn't going to eat her oysters. And I ate her oysters and all of her clams and all of my oysters and all of my clams. I was supposed to like drive her to the airport the next morning. Like in the middle of the night, I woke up and I was so sick. I
That's
could
the
barely
worst.
I was in the bathroom sick, and I had to have one of my teammates come and take her. I'm like, thank you for coming all the way to France. I love you, but he's going to have to take you to the airport because I can't.
That is horrible.
Oh my gosh. It was, I learned my lesson. Okay. So I have these pieces of paper and these are oh, Amber, can you get that without, these are pieces of paper of stories, from other listeners. So you guys want to read them?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, by the way, don't ever ask listeners who are also friends and family to tell you like travel fails. Because a lot of them were like, do you remember that time when you did this? I was like,
funny.
no.
Can I go?
I'll go. Okay, this is from Aaron. We wanted to take a different route home from Carlsbad to Phoenix, and we used GPS for the first time. Usually it'll take us 6 to 8 hours max, pulling a trailer, but this time it took us 12 hours. Took us over a 2-lane road over huge mountains, and there were tons of makeshift graves on the side of the road where people had died from accidents. Was the longest trip home ever.
Oh, gosh.
That's terrible.
That is terrible.
Okay, double check your GPS.
Yeah. But if you don't know where
Was it
you
the
are.
Garmin?
But
like-
they, yeah. Wow.
Ugh.
That was also sad. You're like makeshift graves, and we all went, "Wah ha ha."
I know.
Dark humor.
It's really dark humor. All three of us.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I thought that did it say that they go there a lot?
Yes, I don't know why they want to.
They said they were using GPS
Oh,
for the first time,
for the
right?
first time.
GPS
Yeah.
is tricky.
Yeah. So sometimes you know the way to go, but GPS is like, no, go this
And
way.
you just trust it because
Yeah.
they know the accents.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's a sermon in there.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
There's the preacher.
Just got a sermon illustration. Don't use the GPS.
Don't
you
use
know the
GPS.
way to go.
That's right.
Listen to the
Amen.
sermon. Okay. This is. Can I say their name? Anyways.
Yes. We said
this
last
is
one.
Megan. We commandeered an Air China plane. The flight was canceled due to weather after we were already on the plane. Our guide told us not to get off and go back to the terminal because they would not let us. They wouldn't give us a new flight. So we stayed on that airplane from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. and slept on the tarmac some too.
Oh my gosh. In China.
No
Shanghai?
way. Shanghai. They probably say they're like, you can't leave because none of your money
Right.
works.
Oh my gosh.
Because then you can't eat any food.
9 to
Oh.
6.
But if you're already on the plane, that means no food.
No, they have
Well, they-
peanuts.
hopefully
and
have
pretzels.
Well,
I
maybe.
would hope they would pass out that stuff.
But but if they stayed, did like the flight attendants stay too?
Megan, we're gonna need some answers.
Right. Okay, so this one here, you guys can choose another one. This one came from my dad, and this is our family's travel fail story, which was we were in California, and we all had breakfast before we got on the road, and it was like one of those curvy mountain roads, and I had a bear claw, which I have never eaten since that day. My brothers always got car sick, and so they Amber's like,
Well, I think you cut off it.
oh, did I? Oh, okay. Amber's like picking another one, like, I don't like this story. So my brothers always got car sick, but I did not get car sick. Well, I'm in the back with my younger brother and not feeling good because of this stupid bear claw, and he always, we'd be like, I'm going to throw up. So we would throw him back a bag. And so my parents did that, and he threw up, but there was a hole in the bag. So it started like dripping all over me, right? And the seat.
No.
So now I start throwing up. Now we're both throwing up into a bag that has a hole in it.
Disgusting.
So they pull over to the side. My brother and his friend that was with them bail out of the car because they're going to throw up too. Come to find out, we had no paper towels, no nothing to like clean it up. So my dad goes into the dirty clothes bin to get some dirty clothes to clean it up. We need clothes, but this is the end of our trip. So he has to like dig out dirty clothes for us to like put on. Oh, I don't need that. Put on. And we get in the car. We go to like this little tiny like gas station. And they're like, we need things to clean up, throw up. And they're like, we don't have anything. So it was like napkins, I think, was it.
No, that sounds horrible.
And that was the beginning of the trip home from California. So we had to drive all the way back to Arizona.
They were on the route where they went by the graves.
They're like,
Took them
please
12 hours.
bury Dylan and Courtney in one of those because they stayed.
They did this to us.
I know, right?
That was so good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Amber.
Well, something happened to this one.
Let me
so-
see that one.
It's so sad. I wanted to know what happened to the pom-poms.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You're right. Okay.
All right, well, moving on to Maggie. We were on an extended RV trip with our 4 children and a dog. We were in North Carolina, headed back to Phoenix after 3 weeks on the road. Our teenage son was giving us a hard time and needed a timeout. We pulled over to the side of the interstate and told him to get out. He could come back in when he apologized. A few minutes had gone by when a state trooper pulled up behind our RV. My husband went outside to talk with the officer. You could just see our son thinking that we were going to get in trouble because we asked him to get out. The officer asked us what was happening. We shared briefly what had gone on. As he looked at our son, he told us that he would have done the same thing. Wished us a good day and got in his car and left. Needless to say, our son apologized quickly and we went on our way.
That's perfect.
That's funny.
You couldn't time that
No.
any better.
No.
To scare your son.
I mean, thank goodness that like the state trooper was like, yep. All right. You guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, nice parenting.
Right. See you later.
Been there, yeah.
That's good.
Oh my gosh. What's yours?
Okay, Leanne. Once when I was little, my family was given the keys to a cabin up north for the weekend. A generous couple from our church invited us up, so we packed up the minivan and planned a nice getaway for a few days. The problem was we forgot the keys. They were back at home on the dining room table nearly 2 hours away. Not wanting to give up on our vacation, my dad decided to see if there was another way in. The second-story balcony in the back had a glass sliding door. I have vivid memories of my dad tying a garden hose to the railing and shimmying his way up to the balcony. To our delight, the door ended up being unlocked, and so we stayed the weekend but ended up climbing in and out of the front window because the front door deadbolt was locked from both sides. And that's what we call dedication.
Seriously?
Like the 2 hour. 2 hours doesn't seem that far to me. Just give it.
It's 4. It would be 4.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going
that's
there
true.
and going back. And if you only have like a weekend.
And you know what?
You
That
know?
makes me nervous too, because sometimes I stay at other people's cabins and I go, like, they have stuff upstairs and then like their balcony is unlocked. And I'm like, do you think anybody would ever know?
Now
And,
you know.
And you're alone. You're alone.
And I'm definitely alone. If I'm in a cabin in Arizona, I'm most likely by myself. Shouldn't say that publicly.
Yeah. Her Instagram's going private.
And bye.
And bye.
That's my other thing. There's a travel tip. I do not post when I am there in real time if I'm by myself, especially. So anyways, that was a nice little reminder. I post later because I don't like people to know where I am, because I've had people show up where I was.
Oh. Fans. She has so many fans.
I know.
Fangirl.
Wow. I've had people too. I mean, all the time.
All the I didn't mean that. It was like happened one time seriously, and I was like, not again.
Yeah.
Even like coffee around town, I won't post until I'm gone from there.
I mean, it is a
It's
good
a
safety.
Anyways, that was my
Yeah.
thing.
No,
another
that's
little travel
good.
tip.
That's good. All right. So at the end of every episode, we always ask, who is it that helped you along in your journey? But you guys have already, answered that question, and so people can go and listen to it on your individual episodes. So I'm going to ask you, since we're talking about the travel topic today, who inspired your love of travel?
Carmen Sandiego.
Where in the
It's
world
perfect.
is Carmen Sandiego?
Literally, that was my favorite. No, I think that for
Okay.
sure. Honestly, watching that growing up, I was like, I want to do these things. My parents, we traveled a lot as kids, and then we would do mission trips overseas, mission trips around the U.S. We always said that we saw the underside of a city before we actually got to enjoy it, because we would go serve there most likely, and then we're like, hey, we should do a family vacation here in a couple years. So, but traveling even overseas, Armenia, that was my first one in high school when I went to Armenia, and we went through Russia, and we were there for a couple of weeks, and that really set my heart on fire to travel and see the world and meet people and eat new things and stuff. So my parents really gave me the opportunity. My siblings went, but they do travel, but they're not like me. But it gives an opportunity for people to discover some of their passions. So
Did your parents always travel with you guys, or did they travel separately as well?
separately too.
Okay.
They make it priority to do that too, away from us. There's 4 of us, so they're like, we gotta
Right.
go. We gotta get out of here.
But I think
that's why they traveled so much.
Hey!
Oh, I'm getting light bulbs.
Well, no, I asked that because I think sometimes it's easy as like parents to be like, I really would like to travel, and bringing a kid, is it's something that you have to really think through a little bit more. You have to think about what you're going to do and the activities to entertain them and where you're going to stay a little bit more. And you may not get to do things that you wanted to do because your kids are with you. We can't go to this location because, we've got our kids. And so I think sometimes people avoid taking their kids, especially internationally. And that's why I ask, if you have one time that you get to go internationally, you may not take your kids. But if your parents went internationally together anyway, then you're more likely, I think, to take your kids.
And I think we were there on a mission trip.
Okay.
So my brother kind of he was the youngest one, probably 7 at the time. And he just kind of blended in. He would do VBS with other people. And he just went everywhere with us. I mean, he was in New York as a kid pulling a little suitcase. Like, you know, I mean, it is what that is. And my parents taught us to be very adaptable and just like, if you need to fall asleep, go sleep over there. Like we just like,
Yeah.
you know, like I got left a couple of places by doing that because I love naps. So that's dangerous.
So you
But
learn to say,
anyways,
"Mom, I'm going to sleep right
yeah.
there. Please don't
yeah,
forget
that
me."
one I had to tell my dad, really. But yes, so my parents inspired me, gave me the opportunity to fall in love with it, I'd say. And then Carmen Sandiego really inspired me.
Okay, Amber, who
love it.
inspired your love of travel?
Well, my parents were in the military, so they traveled a ton. And so just growing up, I think we would just travel a lot. Also, grandparents didn't live in the same state, so that kind of helps. And, like, family, so kind of that kind of thing. But then, like, for my dad's post-military career, we would go on, like, the rewards trips or whatnot. And so I felt like we were always going somewhere, but I think they just loved it anyways from their life before kids. And then I went on a mission trip to Africa with a friend of mine. It was just us two, and that's kind of what sparked, like, the international love and, like, oh, I can do this. This is great. Let's just go everywhere now. So
Awesome.
yeah.
I
thought you almost said that you went to Africa by yourself. And then you're like, oh, it's my friend.
With
And
my
I was
friend.
like,
But she stayed, and I came home by myself, which is
that's
unusual. And I did London by myself, and
Yeah.
that's still a
so
lot.
I can do it.
That's a lot.
You got it, girl.
Just
You
don't
got
want to.
It's exactly it's a matter of want.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
I quite enjoy it.
Well, thank you. This has been so much fun. I'm so glad we got to laugh and talk about, I don't know, your travel experiences. And see, I told you guys, you were like, you both have this love of travel, but you do it so differently.
We do.
I'm inspired by
Because
you.
I'm going on a trip Thursday. I'm leaving, but I already have my flight. I already have where I'm staying. I already have my itinerary.
And I was like,
And
yeah, I
Allie's
might
like,
be
I
leaving
might
on
be
Thursday.
going.
I might be going on Tuesday, but we'll find out. Maybe by Sunday.
And we're recording this on a Thursday
On
night.
a Thursday.
Yeah.
That's
So-
good context, yes.
That's right. So we're a week out. So like tonight, I'll start pulling my stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you for packing that far
But
in
it's
advance.
also, I only have to pack for one. So like for you, Courtney,
right.
you have to think of like packing for the kids.
Right. So I
packing for
should
the
I
husband.
should start that a week ahead.
Yes.
And I don't. That's why I'm saying I'm so inspired
Oh,
by
yeah,
you.
you should.
I should. Oh yeah, you should. No,
Yeah.
like 2 days. But what I always do is I do the laundry, and then as I'm folding it, I
Oh yeah, that's good.
will say, okay, these are the outfits that they're gonna wear, and then this is all the stuff that goes away, and then I only have to think about myself.
That's good.
So, and it helps now actually that they're bigger. This is my travel tip for parents. If you're leaving and so my kids are 4 and 7, I give them a picture, and I will draw. Well, I can write words now for Jackson, but for my youngest, I will draw a picture of a shirt and write a 4 next to it and say, you need to go and pack 4 of these shirts. And then
Awesome.
you need 4 pairs of pants, and you need 2 pairs of underwear. I'm not a great drawer, so it's kind of funny, but I also am not a mom who like cares what goes with what. So like if you care about what your kids are going to wear, then you might want to do the first one of like choosing everything while you're doing laundry. But if they're like going to grandma's house, I don't care.
Right.
So I give them a thing and they pack their own bags. And then I of course go through everything to make sure they didn't like forget underwear, but that's a good thing to give your kids that responsibility.
I
So,
have one more
That's
question.
great.
yeah.
What is your travel outfit? Are you like
Oh, that's a good
athleisure wear?
question.
Are you kind of dress up? Does it depend on where you're going, who you're with?
Oh, don't put me in a box. Yeah. It depends on where I'm
I
going.
only get
with.
one.
Yeah. I'm like, what? I usually dress up a little bit. I travel in jeans, at least in
Okay.
jeans, almost always. Or I have these like satin like joggers, but they look dressier.
Mm-hmm.
And so other than that, I don't know why. I think it's because I used to fly standby a lot, especially with Delta, and they always say like you need to look to put together, and I rather do that.
I have heard it said that if you dress
have
better, that there's a better chance you might get like upgrades and stuff like that.
I also always wanted to meet cute on the airplane, so I was like, well, if I look better, then that's
Me
kind of a better
too.
chance. And I was like, come with the makeup, like. So I was thinking of
It's like you never know who you're gonna sit
you
next
don't
to.
know.
You don't know. It's
Okay,
true.
just curious.
What about you? You didn't.
Yeah.
I hate wearing jeans, so I try to avoid. I'd rather wear like a dress or a skirt or
Really?
joggers or yeah, something like that. Also, I will change if I have layover, like get somewhere, like I'll do that too.
Yeah.
Has this changed as you've gotten older? Or did you always, like, even in, like, high school and college?
No, I probably wore nicer clothes before college. And in college, I wore lots of athleisure, and then it was like...
Yeah, I don't think I really wear athleisure. I occasionally, and if it's an athleisure, it's like a joggers with like a necklace and hoop earrings and like my Air Force. Like, it's not like I'm just going to put leggings and a sweatshirt on.
Okay.
Right.
Here's why I'm laughing. I'm picturing us.
The three of us going to
The three of us going somewhere. And it's not so much now, but like in college, us all going together and you guys looking so nice. And here's how I would have arrived. I would have arrived in a pair of maybe jeans or leggings, one of the two. And then I would have had
Gauchos.
No gauchos. No. Wow.
And a Gap sweatshirt.
Yeah, a Gap sweatshirt for sure because I worked there. Where I met Amber. I would have had flip-flops on with toe socks. And
I forgot about toe socks.
Oh my gosh,
and
flip-flops.
it would have, absolutely, because I want to be able to take my shoes off on the plane, but I don't want my bare feet because they get cold and you don't want to walk around on the plane. So I would have always had multicolored toe socks on. So here we would have been taking a picture, you guys dressing so nice. And I'm like, can I come along?
No way. I'd be like, nope.
And she wants to get a Subway.
Also, that's right.
Courtney's over
She's
eating
cut.
at Panera Bread on her own. We're having the
going
good
to
food.
The fancy place. They do say to wear shoes that you like stay on your feet in case of an emergency. There's another travel tip. Because that way, if something crazy happens or you have to exit the airplane or whatever, they're already on your feet and you can go instead of trying to find flip-flops. At least you got your toe socks on.
It's a good thing mine never was in a plane crash.
Toe socks.
Oh boy. Wow.
I feel like I'm coming up with all these like travel tips now. Sorry, guys.
Hey, it's cool. You know, people are just listening.
Leave
Hope
your
they
house
made it to the end
clean.
of this episode.
I mean, if not, they missed
If you're
out on a
still
couple.
here,
Yeah, that's right. If you're still here,
if there's anyone out there,
thanks for joining us. This is what a like a Friday night hangout would look like. And thanks for joining us. Well, thank you honestly for joining me today, for laughing with me, giving us your travel wisdom, and I'm so glad that you guys joined us today.
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah.